Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in tonight for our Women in Gaming panel. We are going to hear from some true pioneers in the gaming field, and we would like to say a huge thank you to our virtual audience, our panelists, and Intel for partnering with us and supporting this event. For those who do not know me, my name is Mary Kate Meals, and I am the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Coordinator for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In my role, I am responsible for creating, supporting, and delivering unparalleled sports and entertainment experiences fueled by a diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture. The collective mixture of our fans, team members, properties, and partners are characterized by our differences and our similarities and allow us to remain relevant, trusted, and engaged with all communities across differing dimensions of diversity. In my role, I also serve as a liaison between our team member resource groups, or as we call them, TMRGs. And one of our TMRGs in power is for all women of the Cavs, Monsters, Charge, and Legion. It offers internal resources like a mentoring program, monthly newsletter, and special guest speakers across an array of fields. Empower also works to connect with women in the greater Cleveland community through various community service projects and bringing groups together throughout the Cavs, Monsters, Charge games each season. Tonight, I am joined by some amazing women, and I do not want to steal any of their thunder. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the panel to introduce themselves. Helena, would you mind telling us a little bit more about yourself and your current role?
Hi, my name is Helena Malik, aka Blonde Venom is my gamer tag, and I am the director of content for eFuse. And eFuse is both a social media website and also a tournament and event organizing platform where we actually build tools to empower the next generation of gamers. So I lead both our video and our written content for all of our eFuse properties. So I will turn it over to Maria to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Hawkins, and I'm the Director of Esports here at Kid State University. In my role, I manage the day to day operations of our esports program for both the varsity and the community teams. We have a lot of students that are involved in our program, so we have a lot of stuff that's going on here at KSU. And now I'll hand it over to Sierra.
Thank you. Yeah. So my name is Sierra. I'm an esports program manager at Intel. I've been at Intel for 6 years now, and I've worked on both the software side of gaming as well as now on the product and esports side. I currently program manage two really awesome experiences. One is specific to high schoolers, so education esports and kids who are looking to get recruited into collegiate programs. And then I also program manage the Intel World Open, which is our esports tournament that's in collaboration with the International Olympic Committee. And Mary Kate, I'll turn it back to you.
There is some amazing talent here in this space tonight. Thank you again, ladies, for being here. So let's begin tonight's program with Sierra. Could you share with us why hosting panels like this is so important for Intel?
Yeah, and so Intel has been in the esports and gaming space for over 15 years now. And there's a lot of movement that's been happening in the space, but I think we could all agree that it hasn't always been the most equitable or most diverse, and a lot of progress has been made. And here at Intel, we really value and are committed to powering the contributions of women and girls in tech and having those contributions really powered through technology and the incredible experiences that can be created when we provide access to technology for women and girls. And I'm really honored to be on the panel today with Mary Kate, Maria, and Helena to talk about some of the contributions that they've had within the gaming and industry, or the gaming and esports industry in particular.
I just want to express again how grateful we are for Intel for allowing us to be in this space together tonight. So thank you again, Intel, for your contribution and partnership on this event. Maria, let's jump over to you for a moment. Can you talk to us a little bit about the program that you oversee at Kent, college esports as a whole, and how impactful it is to have women involved in those programs?
Yes, our program here at Kent State actually started as a club team back in 2017, 2018. We then decided, well, a lot of our students are interested in esports, so let's create an actual varsity program. So in 2019, we created our varsity esports program. We have 5 current teams that we offer varsity program scholarships for. We also just increased that to adding Valorant this past year. We have about 1,300 community members in our program, so we're still growing constantly here, and we compete in a ton of different collegiate programs across the United States. We get invited to different things. We're actually part of the Esports Collegiate Conference, which is sponsored by the MAC. So we compete with all the MAC teams, and then we have two additional schools that were added into that program. Collegiate esports as a whole is growing. It's crazy right now with all the stuff that's being added, the new arenas that are being built. We just built a new arena ourselves this past year. This is our first semester actually using it fully to its capacity. State of the art broadcasting system put in place, 12 set up here, custom built computers, just a lot of stuff going on within the industry. A lot of places are putting a lot more money into the program, so they're offering a lot more scholarship opportunities, larger arenas, and a larger more communities. A big thing for us right now is increasing our diversity, not just including women in gaming, but also including people of color. We're also looking for LGBTQ community. So we're increasing our diversity level, offering scholarships specifically for that. That's actually happening across a lot of the college programs. And a big thing about having women and female gamers involved is we go out and show them that it's not just males that are involved in the sport that's running the programs or that's actually competing. So that's like a big thing. As Sierra mentioned, we do a lot of stuff with high schools, just like Intel does. And it's cool to actually work with those schools. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're a female that's running a program. And I'm like, yes. Yeah. So like, wait, you're a girl that's doing stuff that's involving esports. So that's a good thing for us. It's really exciting to see female and female gamers interested in getting involved in collegiate esports.
And if I can add, Maria is so modest. Kent State Esports is one of the best programs here in Ohio. She's absolutely incredible. And from an eFuse perspective, we just acquired two collegiate leagues, one college COD and one college Carball, so both Call of Duty and Rocket League collegiate leagues, which has been an amazing experience for me personally. When I was in college, I went to Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, and they actually blocked Wi-Fi off of college campuses. So we would not even able to play games like competitively on campus. And to see a school like Kent State really embrace that and build these amazing arenas and dedicate resources to these students for esports programs and gaming programs is absolutely incredible.
Thank you for that, Helena. Yeah, we actually have created a dedicated system for our gamers across, even in the dorms. We want to make sure that everyone can access whatever they're playing. If they're playing competitively, if they're playing for fun, we try to make it to where they can gain their own Wi-Fi access, or if they're wanting to hardline in, just to make sure that they're not losing the connection when they're in game. So that's like a big thing that I've been fighting for since I've been here for about 2 years now. But yeah, we're still struggling with that. We are putting a lot more stuff into that, and we're very excited that eFuse has acquired collegiate carball because we are huge into Rocket League here, and also because you guys, thank you for your support with the esports collegiate. You guys actually just ran our tournament for Rocket League, and you're also running a tournament for Valorant this season.
Yeah, I think all of us here sort of, really embrace both scholastic and collegiate esports. And, I think it takes all of us to bring legitimacy to that space, and especially the women in that space. For college COD in particular, there are a couple girls who compete and are amazing and really keep up with the best of the best. So we're looking to see how the scene progresses and, monitor progress as we move forward.
That's awesome. Helena, I know that you had some experiences in college and some resources that weren't readily available to you. And I just was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about how you began developing your career. And if you could just kind of share maybe your career path, the steps you took to get to where you are today. And then from there, Sierra, if you wouldn't mind pitching in as well, we would love to hear from your side as it pertains a little bit more to the business side, a little bit more of that traditional but untraditional way of entering into the sports field. And then Maria, we'll jump to you.
Perfect. Yeah, I actually grew up competing in Call of Duty. So I went to a local LAN center in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I first started competing, and eventually got good enough where I went with my team, my group to MLG tournaments all over the country and started competing in Call of Duty, which was a ton of fun. But that LAN center was also professional experience for me. When I was 15 or 16, it was built a couple of minutes away from my house, and I would beg the manager of the land center to let me help get me a job in any way possible. I was there every single day, right when they opened, stayed until they closed. Was really obsessed with that place, and um, eventually I broke them down and he let me have a job where I could create marketing materials for them, like flyers and handouts, in exchange for some free play, which was really important to me because as I said before, my college didn't allow us to play on their Wi-Fi where I dormed. So I really needed a dedicated practice space, and to pay for that time over and over again just wasn't feasible for a college student. So I got really lucky where they let me have that practice space at the time. But it was pretty unconventional as far as jobs go. But that experience helped me market myself and be able to attend all of those different competitions, those MLG competitions in Columbus, Dallas, California, Canada, etc., where I grew my network and, you know, met people, both teammates and competitors or organization owners, and just really met everybody in the college uh, and Call of Duty community to try to get more experience and really pave my path to get into a full time job in esports. But it was a wild ride. But I'll go ahead and pass it to Sierra.
Yeah, I like that you say it's a wild ride. I feel like that's something that we can probably all relate to. I've never heard of anybody with like a very linear career path. It all kind of happens sporadically, spontaneously. And that was a bit how my career path has gone. I actually started playing games back in preschool. I was introduced to Crash Bandicoot. Absolutely loved it. And then from there, gaming really became a hobby. And I didn't really know, nor did I really see a lot of opportunities for competitive gaming. And I was actually really involved in competitive sports instead. So I definitely still had competition in my life, but it was more on the sports side. And then gaming became a hobby. And I really got into like world building games. Zoo Tycoon will forever be my jam. Roller Coaster Tycoon. I absolutely loved building worlds. And I knew I wanted to study something related to engineering and school. And so I studied computer engineering, business, and entrepreneurship for 4 years. So I actually graduated with a very interdisciplinary degree, which I think has set me up really well for the type of career path that I've had, which has been very focused in technology, but a lot more on the experience side of that. And my internship at Intel, which is how I actually came back full time, was on the software side. And so I came back full time to the software side in this whole world of product marketing, which I had no idea existed in school. And it's really understanding technical products, but marketing them to a technical audience. So you really have to have that technical understanding. And the tool that I was working on is used to optimize graphic intensive applications on a PC, which the majority of our games. So that's actually how I got into the gaming space from a professional standpoint, is happenstance of that being the opening on the team and the support that they needed. And it was great. I really got to understand the game development side and the game development industry, all the way from indie developers, one or two people creating a studio, all the way up to your AAA game titles, and how that process works and how games actually get created. And it was that understanding that really got me interested in gaming, and sort of realizing that this hobby and this passion that I had just for playing games actually could really morph into my career. And so I stayed within that role for a few years, and then I moved over to a product side within Intel, so where we actually are creating the CPUs that go into gaming systems. And from there, got really involved with the event side of things and picked up a lot of program management skills, and then shifted into the role that I have now, which is really delivering these esports experiences for our customers, and as ways of not only continuing to grow the esports industry, but also finding new engagement channels like what we're doing with the Olympics. And Maria, I will pass it over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, my background has also been a wild ride. I came from a sports background as well, more of a sports management side and an emerging technology side. So my background was actually in NASCAR motorsports. That's what I focused on in college, with sociology as well. Then I moved to Ohio, got the opportunity to work with 3D printing, emerging technologies, virtual reality, built a new makerspace at the University of Akron in their library program. And then from there, they saw that I created, like this something from the ground up. And they're like, well, we're trying to build a program at Kent State. Are you interested in doing something new? And I've always loved video games. I mean, I've always been playing Nintendo 64, like anything you could think of. I always got my hands on, always had to have the newest tech, the newest games out there. So I was like, sure, let's give it a go. So that's what happened in 2019. Switched over from emerging technology, 3D printing to esports and gaming, and that's where I am now. So it's been a very crazy ride. So, but I love it.
I think it's fair to say here that dreams really only work if you do. And if you want to do something that doesn't currently exist, then just create it and make it. I love that. I love everything that all three of you had just shared. And I think now, knowing all of that information, knowing your backgrounds, knowing some of the barriers that you might have faced as well that went into getting all three of you ladies to where you are today, could you share with the audience or touch on something that's currently going on today, a resource that's available today? What's on the rise for future female, current female gamers?
Yeah, I can tee it up real quick. But there are so many great programs, so many great clubs, so many great initiatives, and I'll list a couple specifically. But it all depends on sort of what niche you're into and what game title. But basically, if you like a certain title, it's there for you. So for Valorant, there's a Discord server called Galorants. Uh, there's Queens Gaming Collective on Twitter at Queens GG. It's amazing for Black female gamers. The game Hers, who own basically the women's esports award ceremony, and they also just launched their initiative to bring women all across the country to compete in NBA 2K for $10,000 on the NBA 2K League build. And then personally, some of my favorites, if you love women's gaming and women's content creation, Version 1 and the Minnesota Rocker are really incredible trailblazers for Call of Duty and Rocket League who have women on their executive team, women content creators, professional women's players. They're really trailblazing the scene, in my opinion. And then last but not least, which on my list, which is really great news, is Women in Games International, who Activision Blizzard just selected to give a $1 million grant to fund and increase professional development and diversity, specifically, a part of that being for women. So there's a couple of those great, resources and people to follow so that you know that you're not alone in your esports journey or gaming journey.
Yeah, and off of kind of what Helena's was touching on, I think from a more general perspective, one of the things that's been so amazing for me to see over the past few years is just a lot more visibility into the careers that women have within the esports space, both in front of the camera as a player, as well as the back end side. So I know, Maria, you touched on this a little bit when you were talking about the arena that you built out on campus, but broadcast, all of the tech work that happens in the background to make an esports tournament happen, to make that Twitch stream happen. There are so many roles there, and we need representation across the board in esports. We need representation on the teams, on the players, on the broadcast side, and then in all the different roles that happen behind the scenes too, to make sure that we're creating accessible, equitable productions for the content that we're also putting out. And so I think that's one of the things that has been really cool for me to see over the past few years, especially as I've moved into more of a production role, is being able to see all the different, incredible women that are really moving this industry forward, even if it's not in the most visible role because it's, not who you see on Twitch or not who you see directly in front of the camera.
Yeah, both of you guys make amazing resources and stuff. You're talking about broadcasting. A big thing for us is to showcase that to females that it's not just about gaming that you can get involved into esports in the industry. It can be about whether or not you want to cast, whether you want to be behind the scenes, marketing, psychology, like anything that you can focus on. That's kind of what we try to show, not just to certain like male individuals, but we try to show it to all of our female gamers. And when we have those high school groups, that's exactly what we're trying to show them. Like, hey, you don't just have to be a gamer; you can still get involved in esports.
Thank you, all three of you. I think all of you shared a little bit of a different part of what's going on in the industry, and that's like barely half of it, right? So for those of our viewers who are here in the Cleveland, Ohio market, the Cavaliers are also going to be hosting a esports night, really an afternoon, if you will. On Sunday, December 5th, there's going to be a series of pregame activations prior to the 3:30 tip-off. Helena is going to be in attendance that afternoon, and Maria will actually be participating on the pregame panel. So for more information, we're going to drop a link in the chat. And additionally, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in there as well. We are going to open up to some questions from the audience here shortly. and we will try to get through as many as we possibly can. Now, before we open the floor, ladies, what's one thing you wish the younger you would have known before pursuing gaming professionally? Sierra, let's start with you.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Everything, anything. I was so naive. I think the biggest thing is realizing that there was so many different opportunities and different careers in tech. I sort of assumed that to work in technology, you just had to code and be a developer, and then you could work, still in tech, but maybe in a few different industries. And that was a huge misconception that I had, and that was something that I really started to realize in college, as well as when I had my internship at Intel, is being able to actually see the entire breadth of careers that exist. And what I think is even more amazing is that if you have a passion for a specific industry like gaming and esports, you can have so many different roles, you can study so many different things to still have a career in that space. So you can be in gaming and esports and in a tech industry, but actually have a finance background. I work with people in finance all day, every day. You can have a psychology background and help us understand why gamers do what they do. What are the behaviors that players have? You can have, so many different backgrounds, and that if you have a passion for tech, there's so many different opportunities for how you get there. Because I learned pretty early on in my computer engineering, I wasn't the best computer engineer. I loved it. I loved to understand the technology, but coding was just not going to be a really strong skill set for me. Turns out I have better program management skills and a lot of other different skills instead, but being able to still realize that I could work in tech. So that's what I'd say is, if you feel like something is maybe holding you back from working in this industry, there's definitely a place for you here, especially if you have that passion for games, for competition, for esports. There's definitely going to be opportunity for you.
I think Sierra just gives the best advice always. Sierra's been on multiple women's panels, and I think that was fantastic. So it's tough to follow that, but I would say some advice, maybe for a former me as a competitive player, would be networking is really important, and you don't know it when you're like 15 and 16, and all you want to do is really win that prize money. But you have to also remember that the lifespan of a competitive gamer is not that long. So I would say networking is a fun buzzword, but how you break that down, make sure you attend every event that you can. Remember everybody's names and faces, because the esports community, for as large as it's getting, it's pretty tight knit. And you see the same people that pop up often. So make sure that you remember them. You never know how you can make an impact for somebody else and how somebody else can make an impact for you. But I would say, definitely keep a cool, calm head when you're playing competitively, and take advantage of all of the opportunities there, that are afforded to you, because the scene is so different, now than before. So, there's a lot more opportunities out there, so making sure that you're take advantage, of every single one of those. But, I'll pass it to Maria.
I think the biggest advice that I could give my younger self would be to get involved, just to get involved in everything that you possibly can. If you're interested, whether it's gaming, whether it's sports, whether whatever, technology, whatever, just go out and do it. Try it, meet people, network, as Helena said. Just know that you can do it. It's not just males. It's not just a male dominant world, especially in esports, that it's open to everyone. And there's opportunities to do whatever that you love. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that hindered me. Was I was like, oh, it's technology, stuff like that. It can't really, it's a male world. But getting involved now, and you see how women, and like, you're a role model for other people. So I think that's probably like my biggest thing.
And I'm just lucky enough to be sitting in the room with like the top 3 game changers. Like, come on. I hope everybody in attendance was taking notes, because like I feel like I should have been too. I'm learning so much. But so thank you all for, sharing that. And I think the guidance and the advice that you're sharing goes a long way, because even me, someone who's recently out of college, like everything you're saying touches the industry or touches multiple industries in its own unique way, but the advice stays consistent. Network, get involved, stay connected, stay relevant. So I think at this point in time, we are going to open up the floor for a few questions from the audience. We'll give it a few seconds for some of those questions to roll in here.
Looks like we've got one from Greeny Golfer, that wants to know my favorite Call of Duty. My favorite one was probably Black Ops 2. Um, I mean, I'm a Black Ops fan. I know that's pretty disappointing. A lot of people love the Modern Warfare series, but I was definitely my at my competitive peak. It was Advanced Warfare and Ghosts, which are not very popular games, but the Black Ops series for sure. I was a big Zombies fan.
Sierra or Maria, do you want to add to that? I feel like I would like to know your perspectives as favorite game. Maybe it doesn't have to be specific to COD as well.
There's a lot of games to choose from. I mean, like to pick something, maybe I'll just pick what my current favorite game is. Let's go with that. So currently my biggest thing is to play Destiny 2. So that would be my favorite game at the moment. With New World probably coming in a close second.
Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit in one of my previous answers. World building games are my favorite, and nothing has topped Zoo Tycoon, like OG 2000s Zoo Tycoon. I will still play it with the terrible graphics. Is so much fun. But like Animal Crossing, I definitely got involved with that. I've tried to play Rocket League, but I am the world's worst Rocket League player ever, which is funny because I was really good at, or at least I played a lot of soccer, but my hand-eye coordination of the car, I just sit in the corner and I can't get out of the corner. So I started picking up Rocket League and playing it because it was a part of our Intel World Open tournament for Tokyo this past summer. And it's just so entertaining how terrible I am. But I want to be good, so I keep kind of coming back to the game. So maybe someday I'll redeem myself and actually be able to move around the field.
I'm laughing like with you, not at you. So it looks like we have another question from the Rue Show. Let's start with Maria. Do you have any advice for a younger content creator trying to get into the esports field?
The biggest thing is make sure TikTok is huge right now. So TikTok is like a big thing that we look at. Instagram is starting to make a little bit of comeback with videos. But Twitter, Twitch, we look at all this stuff and we're looking at new people coming onto our program. We started as early as freshmen. Sometimes before that, looking for people that were interested in playing and content. If you can create good content, we're looking for people on our team like that as well to represent Kent State.
Helena, do you want to share?
Just add that. Oh, go ahead, Helena.
Yeah, just some advice for some younger content creators. Is definitely don't get bogged down by content creation. It can be grueling. It's pretty tough. A lot of people think that it's really easy and they jump into it, without a lot of forethought. But it takes a lot of planning and maybe more on the back end that you might have thought before. But I'd say just like Maria said, staying relevant on trends is really important. Staying consistent with your content, even putting out a schedule so that your viewers can know when to expect that you're going live every single week, because consistency is a really big thing. In esports and gaming, people love to tune into their creators who are streaming at that same time. But yeah, I think that's just don't get bogged down by maybe the day to day.
I was just going to add that there is a lot of opportunities both for schools recruiting content creators to come in for their esports programs, as well as scholarship programs. So one program that we are currently running is called Intel Inspires with Boom TV. And this past summer, we actually had a content creation portion of the program, and there were scholarship dollars available for that. So we had scholarship dollars available for 2D design, graphic design, and shoutcasters. And then there's also an esports component to that program too for students who are looking to get recruited, as well as win some scholarship dollars. So really do some research. There's a lot of money in this space in terms of scholarships available to students who have talents in this space and are really looking to study it. So do some research, find those programs, and that will help you make some connections too.
Thank you, all three of you. It looks like we have another question from the Rue Show. What are your favorite, or what is your favorite moment working in esports? Sierra, we can go ahead and start with you.
Okay, I feel like I'm almost getting chills because I can picture this moment so clearly in my mind. It's when you're actually at a live event, and especially when something amazing happens, an upset happens, and the crowd just loses their mind and goes wild. There is nothing like that. And it's so incredible. It's the thing I miss the most right now about being in a more virtual environment. It's still fun to see those moments, happen over a stream or something, but it's nothing like being in the arena surrounded by thousands of people who are all, cheering for their team. One of my particular moments that stands out to me is when we were at Intel Extreme Masters in Australia. So in Sydney, the Aussies have some really fun chants and are just like so excited about their teams, and there's just this level of energy in the room that is so incredible. So definitely events, anything live, I'm definitely missing that, but fingers crossed for 2022 to start to get back to some of that.
Oh my goodness, don't we all miss the live events? Like, Sarah, I hate to just copycat what you said, but honestly, that's the best part of gaming and esports, right? Are the crowds, the energy, and the lands, the events. Specifically for me, I worked for a team called Panda Gaming. That was like a semi-pro organization that had a ton of different teams under our umbrella. And one moment in particular, we played Optic Gaming on main stage for Call of Duty MLG Atlanta, and we had a ton of people from Panda Gaming, in our Panda shirts, and people didn't really know who we were, and we were on this, live broadcast against Scump and Formal and a bunch of the great Call of Duty players, and we really got our name out there. So it was just kind of a proud mama bear moment for me. And I think the number two moment would be when I worked for the Cleveland Cavaliers here for Cavs Legion. We had, an NBA 2K League team that was in the playoffs season one, and getting to experience the playoff vibes for 2K and their in-person studio was next level. So uh, I completely echo Sierra's sentiments on live events and in-person events.
Well, that makes all three of us then, because mine is exactly the same thing. Ours was when our Hearthstone team actually competed in the Hue Invitational in 2019. We were the underdogs coming in. We never competed in a tournament in person. This was my first, I wasn't even there for a year yet. We were there competing. Our guys make it to the finals. We ended up beating the number one team, and the crowd was going crazy. Our guys were just so excited. So, like, for me, that was probably like my best experience ever. And then number two would have to be um, probably our new space that we just built, opening this up, seeing my vision come to life would have to be like the next big thing for me.
Awesome. We have another question that just came in from Greeny Golfer. Question reads, any thoughts on popularity of a game being measured by player base or by streaming numbers? I know some streamers are kind of debating this right now. Sierra, why don't you start us off with that one?
Yeah, that's an interesting, a really interesting question about so popularity of the game by player base or by stream. I think it kind of depends on where exactly you're at in the industry and what you're trying to measure with the game. So a lot of times, everybody's trying to figure out what the next game was. And looking back, a few years ago when Fortnite really sort of came out of the blue and actually not only transformed the gaming industry, but also created almost a whole new genre of game, the battle royale style game. It was word of mouth that made it popular, but also you had a lot of people streaming it, but also you had a large player base. So it kind of depends on like what exactly you're looking for in terms of popular and what matters to you in terms of popular. Like we really look at how many people are just playing the game in on a system. More so than streaming. And a lot of times people are streaming the games because it is like a sponsored thing as well. So just because you see a game title being streamed for a week doesn't necessarily mean that the player base is always going to follow that.
Yeah, to follow Sierra up real quick, I think I'll add maybe two more metrics to that conversation of what determines a game's popularity and how it should be measured. I would add to that list revenue, obviously for the games coming in. It was funny because Roblox just surpassed, yeah, I want to say it was Activision Blizzard for the number one, game in revenue, which is very telling about the Roblox community, but also staying power. Because as Sierra said, there could be a game that spikes in popularity for like a week or 2 weeks or even a month, but it might not sustain itself for very long. And we kind of sort of see these spikes. So the games that are going to have those long-term trajectories, in my personal opinion, are going to be the winners. But that's just my 2 cents.
We're kind of a little different when it comes to the collegiate side because we look at what not only our competitors and schools around us are doing, we also see what the high schools are interested in. So, a big one for us when we picked up our new game for the Esports Collegiate Conference, we had about 6 games to look at. And we looked at the popularity of the schools, what the high schools liked, if we had a lot of people interested in sporting games like NFL, Madden, games like that, NBA 2K, or if it was more of something that was shooter, so Valorant, COD, different things like that. So a big thing for us is to see what the companies are actually doing and how much effort they're putting into the collegiate side, and then to see what we can pick up that is going to bring the most interest for our student body. So that's how we picked Valorant because it's sponsored, like supported by Riot. So we knew with League of Legends that was going to be a big game. And the popularity of Valorant right now is crazy. Almost every single high school that I've been working with, probably in the last 5 months, have picked up Valorant as their game of choice instead of Overwatch League, even Rocket League. So I think that's kind of a little bit different on the collegiate side than it is for just the industry side itself.
It's so great to know that like the spider web is starting and that we're touching a little bit of everything, right? So we have pro, we have collegiate, we have the hobby side. Now we're tapping into high schools, and it's great to see that because once that spider web goes, it just starts setting us up, really truly for success. And I think something too that is really important is that those numbers are just going to rise. So we may be, seeing something now at the collegiate level that's small, it's starting, it's the first of its kind. And in a few years, like I know when I was in school and doing research, it was like, oh, like students are getting scholarships to attend school for esports. And I'm so excited to see what that web is going to look like in, 1 to 2 years, especially as more high schools are starting to get more engaged, more involved, and more active, providing students with resources and showing them and allowing them the visibility that gaming can really bring. So I just love that you had just touched on that really kind of in depth. Maria, looks like we have another question coming in from the Rue Show. And I believe it's going to start going with, where do we see esports, in the next 5 to 10 years?
Definitely. I think that's definitely a tough question to answer, because we would be lying to ourselves if we had all the answers right now in a crystal ball. But me personally, I would say esports is just at its infancy. It truly is. And it's only going to spike and grow in the next 5 to 10 years. And what that looks like is so different for every game. And, we'll see games, again, rise and fall in popularity, leagues rise and fall in popularity, but the power of esports and gaming will only stay and increase more and more. So it'll be interesting to see the technology even that comes out in 5 to 10 years. I think there's going to be a lot of developments in, different kinds of, call it like Twitch extensions or different tools, content creator tools that are going to come out and make gaming a lot more fun and innovative and crazy. Probably stuff I can't even start to imagine right now. But I could definitely say with full confidence that it's only going to be up from here and growing.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool to see what game titles in, because at the heart of esports is competition, and we're actually starting to see competition happening in game titles where you wouldn't typically see competition. I've talked to a few collegiate esports programs that have Animal Crossing, and they create competition around Animal Crossing in terms of there's time limits to create a certain world or do something like that. And I'm like, that is so cool that you take a game where you wouldn't typically assume that there's a competition element to it, and then that's becoming esports. Obviously not the same as like a Call of Duty competition or a Rocket League competition, but I think that's something that's really cool, is that it's just continuing to grow. It's starting to bring in new games, new game titles into this space. I'm also really excited to see what types of genres come in. How I kind of touched on Fortnite really creating this whole battle royale type of genre within the gaming space. I think we're just going to continue to see that happening as we go into the future. And also just to see how, as the esports, what are they called? Esports leagues. There we go. Esports leagues in both high school and the college space continue to develop and mature a lot more. The US, we are one of the furthest along in terms of markets, but there is so much potential and so much that's happening within the UK, within Europe, within India and a lot of the more emerging gaming markets, or at least emerging esports markets when it comes to high school and collegiate in the education space. And so I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting growth development there. And esports is just, yeah, like Helena said, just continues to grow. And at this point, it's just, I think exciting for all of us in the industry of kind of what is going to be next.
I would have to agree with everything that you both said. I think the biggest thing for us that we're excited about in the next 5 to 10 years is to see where the collegiate scene actually goes. Having all the new schools entering the programs and creating communities and different stuff, living learning communities, research around esports, nutrition programs, like all this stuff that's out there right now. Just seeing that and then seeing where the tech goes. Are we going to continue playing on computers? Are we going to switch to smartphones? Are we going to go to consoles? Like, are we going to use VR? Like, what's the next big thing that's going to come through? Are we going to switch with the industry? Like, there's so much possibilities, and the growth is just going to continue to go upwards from here.
I'm curious to see what the technology is going to do to kind of change the scope. I think everybody has their own preference, right, of what they like to play on currently. But I think, Maria, you make a good point. Like, is that going to change with the newest, greatest thing? Are people going to stay traditional? Like, only time will tell, I guess. So it looks like that was our final question of the evening. So I want to thank all three of you again, Sierra, Helena, Maria, for the advice, guidance, insight, everything that you just brought to the table. Literally, when I said earlier, I was like, I'm sitting in the room with the game changers. Like, I really am, because all of you are driving the industry in your own unique ways. And it's just so amazing to see. I feel like every time I see one of you again, or an update on LinkedIn, like something newer, greater, and better is happening. And that's just so exciting and so empowering, especially as a woman to woman in the industry. It's just so great to see, the takeover. It's starting, it's here, it's now, and it's very much present. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight, this evening. I want to just pitch again. Thank you so much again to Intel for allowing us to be in this space together. I know previously it was kind of hard, right? Women's sports, it's a barrier. It's getting a platform, and we're here right now with 4 crazy awesome people, crazy awesome women. And I am just so grateful for Intel for allowing us to be in this space and putting on such an amazing panel. And to you, our audience, thank you so much for being engaged and for asking your questions. I saw some comments coming through. Well, I won't touch too much, but it seems like Black Ops 2 is the best COD. But we'll leave that there. So thank you to our audience for your participation and for your questions this evening. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your night.